What's going on YouTube? Earth Power here with CVH.
How's it going, everybody?
We have another deck profile for you today. You know it, you love it. It's Fire Nature Rush, guys. The updated version for Season 2. And boy, have we learned a lot. So we said it a lot throughout Season 1 after this deck beat Survivors last season, which it, got paired up against again this season, which is just really fun for the sake of the just how everything ended up shaking out for seeding. But um, we had mentioned that that deck was the same deck we've been piloting on the channel since day one, if not the same deck we've been piloting since 2006 when you and I were still actively playing the game. The deck never saw any innovation outside of Gonta when Set 10 came out, and that's just kind of where the deck stayed with the four of Comet Missile, the four of Torcon, and the
Screwdrivers.
and yeah, the four of Screwdriver. Just so much blocker hate.
So much.
So this version is, IDC has done this deck a ton of favor by just letting people kind of innovate in the 8 or so flex spots that this deck gets in those Screwdriver slots and Comet Missile slots. And this is the version we came up with.
Yeah, it's the classic reimagined, mostly by IDC players like Xboom and others who really enjoy the deck and have made it what it is today. I think the most notable cards, I mean, there's not so much that's changed because the deck is only 11 unique cards, but the two new ones that really stand out are Volcanic Arrows and Poisonous Mushroom. Volcanic Arrows being more flexible removal than Comet Missile by a lot actually can, help you if they're trying to trade with something large, and maybe you didn't need to get rid of a blocker, but you needed to get rid of an opposing Gonta or something. Now you have that option. And Poisonous Mushroom, I remember Xboom saying it was kind of a throw not to be playing it, because on turn 2 it lets you play 2 more creatures, a 2 and a 1. And even if you don't have that, if you played Sniper Mosquito on turn 1, you can just sort of stay at a net, a similar mana instead of going down just to attack with Sniper Mosquito and being set at 2 again the following turn. So it gives this deck a lot of flexibility in the early turns, and it allows it to go really wide. And I think the tech choices, the flex spots now that we see are the 2 Kipos and 2 Torcons.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of this deck is the Poisonous Mushroom. We mentioned it about a week ago, when we were talking about Poisonous Mushroom finding its way into decks this season. That holy Poisonous Mushroom just didn't see a lot of feature prior to any of this bracket tournament stuff, and now it's becoming a very popular card because it allows decks, especially this one, a deck that for the most part we had thought it was just figured out and it was as optimal as it could be. Poisonous Mushroom, like CVH said, it opens up Sniper Mosquito to be able to attack on turn 1. But what I think I love about Poisonous Mushroom the most is just on a rush plan, on an aggro plan, especially if you're on the play, you now have 3 creatures on your opponent's turn 2 that one blocker is just not going to deal with. Now they have 4 shields and they're staring down 3 creatures. If they don't have that blocker and you have the fast attacker, especially if you've maximized on a Sniper Mosquito to get the speed attacker back or whatever mana back you needed, this deck can just eliminate. You can have 0 shields on turn 3. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
if this deck pilots to its perfect line, and that's such a wild concept. Typically you were looking at setting up the 2-turn kill on turn 3. Now the game is essentially over on 3, which is again just something that's really cool as someone who's loved Rush, played Rush and aggro decks pretty much his entire career in this game. And speaking to myself here, I love the addition of Poisonous Mushroom and just what it adds to this deck.
Yeah, Screwdriver was cool in certain situations, but it was really narrow and pretty slow. And if they only play 1 blocker, you still have extra creatures on the board with the line you described. And you still have some
Absolutely.
removal just in case you need it. So I really like this deck. I think it's probably the meta version. I mean, like I said, the flex spots are the Kipos and the Torcons. I like a little bit of shield trigger creature just to keep people scared, and Kipo's kind of a cool anti mid-range and control tech to keep them off their relevant removal. But the rest of the deck is just straight gas.
Yeah, and I will say the one thing. So we left 2 Torcons in here, just as additional nature mana for the 1 drops. I think that's important, because you want to be able to hit your 1 consistently. But the card I think I do miss, and I think the flex spots in the future is this deck may get iterated on. I do miss Comet Missile to a degree. I think that's an important one drop that you can kind of fit into whatever the game plan is, especially if you have Poisonous Mushroom now as your kind of additional mana creature with the Sniper Mosquito lines. Comet Missile fits that role very well as a one drop, and I think I would like to see one or two of them in versions of the deck in the future. I think that's the one thing this deck's missing. I could do without Screwdriver, like you said, it's a slow card, but I think Comet Missile is the one card that, and you see it in the IDC meta a ton. It's the one card that finds its way into this deck as anything from a 2 to 3 of typically, depending on what their meta's looking like and where they're at any given point.
Yeah, will we see Comet Missile back? Stay tuned for season 3. Will we see that one of Muscle Charger that X Boom played once? Who knows? There's a lot of cool things you could probably do with these colors that we just haven't tried. But
Yeah.
hopefully you like this version, because we sure do. And it's going to be up against Survivors in the rematch of this bracket.
Season 2, yeah. You were gonna say the century,
Yeah,
but
I
I don't know
was.
how many
Yeah.
people are looking forward to it. See
Yeah.
how, the profile for Survivors coming up after this. It is a 4 Civ version, so stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for the match a little later this week. And until next time, guys, we'll see you.
Each.